Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Robyne, and I am thrilled to welcome you to this space for real conversations about how we live, how we show up day in and day out, because the quality of our life is shaped by our habits. What we do in ordinary time allows us to be extraordinary. We can unpack what it takes to truly live well and be well in real life. Welcome to Life by Design. And I'm just so excited that you're here. On today's episode, I am joined by the one and only Ian Lopatin. Now, he is the co-founder of Spiritual Gangster. Now, I had an opportunity to meet Ian in person, and right away, you know that this person is like showing up on a completely different frequency. And in our time together, he shares with us like what that is, what it takes to actually be able to move from this place of scarcity into this place of just beautifulness. And so I hope you enjoy this. Like, literally, it feels like a trip that I got to take with Ian to learn a wee bit about his work, where he got started, where he gets to go, and what he's excited about these days. This is going to be very enlightening. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I do. Ian, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah. Well, tell me, like, oh my goodness. So I have been following you like from afar for years, a huge fan of your brand, the work that you do. And if I could share with you just quickly, I remember having a FaceTime call with a mutual friend of ours, Stu Saunders. And I happened to be wearing a Spiritual Gangster hoodie. And he's like, oh my gosh, I know him. And I'm like, pardon? And he's like, I know Ian. He's a friend. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because Stu just pulls that out, as you know. Like, Stu is just connected. And anyway, he's like, yeah. So he's like, sometime I'll make sure that we connect.
Well, I'm glad. I love Stu, and it was great to be at his epic event and to
Yeah.
connect with you. And he's made, and it's amazing what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ian, your backstory in terms of like how you got started, like fascinating. Like I love this idea that, from lawyer to like yoga instructor to this, like, oh my goodness. Could you just like give us a wee bit of a snapshot of this experience and how you got to where you are and the amazing things that you do?
It's interesting because things kind of move all over the place. And just even recently, I grew up in Detroit. My mom had a lot of health issues, and so she was also connected to all these really incredible spiritual teachers, like even Wayne Dyer, and so all this stuff was in my life as a kid, and I grew up on, like, applied kinesiology with the founder, Dr. Goodhart, and learned about, like,
Mhm.
craniosacral with, like, all the people who were, like, inventing this stuff, and
Yeah.
then I went to school in the South of Vanderbilt, and then I went to LA. My dad was a lawyer, and he's like, "Look, if you go to" I didn't know what I wanted to do, but he's like, I worked at the White House for a little bit, but he's like, "If you wanna be a lawyer, at least I know you won't be pumping gas for a living."
Okay.
So, I went I went to law school, and I got addicted to yoga, and I was watching yoga boom in LA,
Yeah.
and, um I got, like, the best entertainment law job, but I knew I didn't wanna I was like, "This is not what I wanna do." I was watching the people who were, like, 50 years old, they were partners, they're working, like, 100 hours a week still, and just, like, they were it just was like, I knew that that's not what I wanted to do, and I went and saw my mom in Florida, and my mom, I told her I got into yoga in law school, and she gave me a yoga book, and I was sitting on an airplane on the way back, and this Indian guy in a satin jacket with a tiger on it, and his wife came and sat down next to me. I was like, "How's it going?" And for like 3 hours, we're flying from, Florida to LA, and about 3 hours in the flight, I've taken my yoga book. He goes, "You do yoga? I am Bikram." I'm like, "You wanna see my book?" He's like, "I got my own book, 2,000,000
Yeah.
copies." So this is like the infamous Bikram, and,
Yes.
he's got a Netflix show about him, but I went and bought his book, and then I went to his studio the next day, and I was like, "Okay, God, God has a plan for
Yes.
life." So that led to me opening a chain of yoga studios, doing teacher trainings, building a yoga brand that I sold to Lifetime Fitness, teaching
Yeah.
yoga all over the world. And when I was teaching yoga, I was like the first person to like to really use hip hop rap music, and I would always start it out with natural mystic, like, and then roll into, um, Tupac, Biggie, stuff like that. I could get the
Love it.
whole room to move like a collective consciousness,
Yeah,
like in leadership, there's an idea of like the leader's at the top, or but what happens is everybody's a leader, everybody's a follower. There's a higher
yeah,
consciousness that happens, like a school of fish is like the
yeah,
best way to do it, or a flock of
yeah,
birds.
yes.
So the whole room would get like that. But a friend of mine after class, she was like, "Oh, you're like a gangster." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "A spiritual gangster." And we started making t-shirts and selling in the yoga studio. My wife was like our designer, and she was the
Yeah,
creative director for years. And that's kind of how spiritual gangster came about. And then, you know, it was recently, I just got back from like a week with Joe Dispenza in Mexico, and it's incredible what he's teaching and how he's doing it. But I realized all these different events from my past are lining up, like,
mhm,
yoga, um, like even like, and just getting the message out, like, and
yes,
like spiritual gangster was there are all these different containers you build that have frequency that you want to get out to the world, right? And
mhm,
I think that you never really I don't believe like anything's linear.
mhm,
Things kind of like you go here, you get more consciousness, you go here.
yeah,
And so now um we're together, and I'm doing a lot of speaking. I have an event
yeah,
called Of Course that hopefully we'll see you at in Arizona and Scottsdale. And
yeah,
but it's all about like sharing frequency and like
mhm,
raising consciousness and people are ready to wake up
yes,
and live like in non-suffering states, and it's really possible. And I think people are ready for this information, and I think
yes.
there's ways to like actually become a higher frequency, and then your whole reality shifts.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my goodness, thank you for taking us on that, like, that little quest, right? Like, thinking about how it got started. I love those, like, intersections between, this really informed what happens next and just that openness that you have to, like, seeing what's possible, and I also love that you're, like, bridging different worlds, right? Like, that's what was so radical, I think, about the whole notion of spiritual gangster is that there was this idea that, like, gangster thud over here, spiritual enlightened over here. And you literally put like a through line between them and said, like, oh, like you can do this. Like there is this really amazing energy that can be cultivated when you actually bring in these different people, different backgrounds, different experiences and see what's possible, which is really inspiring, which is amazing. So, what are you just mentioned you have your event coming up. What are you excited about right now? Because as you know, the state of the world seems to be very unwell and there's a lot of bad energy out there, a lot of bad players, and you just keep showing up and you just keep leveling up. And I'm just so curious as how somebody like yourself, who is so in tuned with the world, you're so in tuned with people, like, how are you stick handling this? What are you thinking about? What's next?
So I think it's interesting. I think I know like my frequency and how I show up allows me to see things. So I see opportunity everywhere. I see
Yes.
patterns, and I think, like healthcare is a great opportunity in so many different ways. Like just for people to become healthier much more quickly, and
Yeah.
kind of the inputs and this. So I think that's a huge opportunity. The one of the things I'm excited about is just sharing information with people. I like
Yeah.
one of my real gifts is being a bridge walker,
Mhm.
and being able to connect. And now we're doing a lot of the mystical with the
Yes.
medical. So I'm working with a lot of doctors and a lot of people who are of all the science and the data. I'm like, okay, what's happening during these mystical experiences, and
Yes.
what does it do to your consciousness, your body, and then how does that affect your reality?
Mhm.
So I think I'm very excited about that because one, I think the science and the trackables are here.
Yes.
People are ready. I think people are looking for experience and transformation now more than
Mhm.
ever. Like they're not looking just, you know, look, I'm 18 months sober. I think part of my thing is
Congratulations.
thank you. And that's a huge, but one of the things I learned is like we're all like for years I was looking for mystical experiences. And then I at first like drugs and alcohol would provide that. And I did like every drug on the planet basically simultaneously at the sphere for like 30 times, right? Looking for those mystical experiences. And you can
Yeah.
have them. But now there's a ways to get to those places without, you actually live in those places and
Yeah.
access those places. And I think people are ready to do it. And and like all the yoga stuff, like when you talk about how, like I had put the stuff on the shelf since I sold the yoga business. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm training and doing this breath work for
Mhm.
for 15 years. I have way more than 10,000 hours. I brought Wim Hof to Summit 8 years ago before anyone heard of Wim Hof, right? And did
Yes.
the interview. So it's like all these things in my past are now lined up perfectly to because when like energy and information, people need to like what you're doing in the pot, we're sending out frequency, right? And
Yes.
people are going to listen to it and they're going to attach and they're like, wow, this is great. How do I
Yeah.
learn more? But we're getting the frequency out and people are ready to recalibrate, and they're looking for not an experience that also yields transformation. Like,
Yes.
experience can show you what's possible, but then there's ways to actually change your frequency, live at a higher vibration, right?
Yes.
Have it and then that'll change the whole pattern of your reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So when somebody listening right now is wondering, okay, so I'm around a lot of these lower vibrations, these dense emotions, this negativity, this heaviness, what are your recommendations or your invitations for them to think about in terms of like, where do we find this place that you're
Yeah.
describing?
Great question. I think
Yeah.
one is first off, there's 2 it's like so things are either black or white. It's like in the Matrix, the blue pill or red pill, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple belief systems. One, I'm in lack or I'm in abundance. Most people are manifesting from lack.
Yes.
I want this car. I'm here right now. I want this car. I'll get this car, and when I have this car, I'll feel the emotion of having it, right?
Yeah.
So there's time, space, and that's like how it works. And but even if you get to you think that you're creating it from not having it, right?
Right.
Basically, the way it works at higher frequency and at frequency so basically, we work three-dimensional world, everything's frequency is vibrating at the lowest frequency.
Mhm.
It's dense matter, and we're
Yeah.
dense matter, so it's harder to change the material world. You need to work through time. Time's the space between 2 events, like,
Yes.
I wanted to get here this morning, I was a little bit late. The time it took
Yes.
me more time to get between these 2 places, my home and here.
Yeah.
So what happens though is these things get charged with emotion, right? So
Yes.
it's like, but when you really want to create the life that you want to have, so first in the morning you've got to increase your frequency. So
Mhm.
like you can do cold plunging. I meditate every morning. I don't go straight to check out. Like the default emotion frequency is low. So one, increase your energy, right? You wanna, like, work out, you wanna, do things spiritually right. I write in my journal, I have a
Yeah.
five-minute journal, I've been doing it every day. Like, do things that increase your frequency, and then as you start to increase your frequency, there's a big stuff about manifesting, but
Yeah.
the way manifesting works, and it's you go to a place where you raise your frequency high enough, and
Yes.
breath work through the
Yeah.
chakras, all these ancient techniques are designed to
Yeah.
increase your energy, and when you increase your energy and get your frequency high enough, the body actually shifts, and the body an electromagnetic field comes around the body. So
Mhm.
you become, a transponder that starts to emit a frequency, and then when you can get your heart and your head coherent,
Mhm.
it's a bigger wave, it's a pulse, and you can tap into the field. And then when you're in a place with high energy and you're coherent, what happens is you move to 5D reality. So in 5D, there's no such thing as time. There's
Right.
infinite amount of time. Okay. And what happens in 5D is the source of that creation is the thought. And when you have the thought, you have the emotion. So if you charge it with emotion, if you just say, oh, I want this red car, or you say, I want this red car, it's going to bring me so much joy,
Mhm.
take my kids around in it. I wanted the Magnum PI Ferrari since I was like, but how's it gonna feel when I have that car, and
Yeah.
why does it bring me joy? And the more emotion that you can put to that, one, now you already have the feeling.
Yeah.
And the heart is in this field when you get coherent, the heart is the glue that draws this. So most people are here in time space trying to get here. The
Yes.
way it works is you get here and you draw your current self to this future higher timeline where everything's possible.
Mhm.
So, it's a whole idea, but the first thing is, okay, am I in lack or am I in abundance? And then
Yeah.
two, am I the source or am I blaming someone else? Right.
Yes.
So if you're blaming someone else, you're not the source.
Mhm.
Right? So it's like these are simple concepts, but it's a totally different thing to embody this versus understand it intellectually. And
Yes.
then once you start becoming the energy. So like the most advanced thing that you can understand is when you're in the space of creating your future reality, there's no Ian.
Mhm.
right? I don't exist. I'm a frequency, but to
Yeah,
get into a field of nothing, there's gotta be no Ian,
right.
right? So I used to show up for years of meditation. I spent 6 weeks in India, and I
Mhm.
would show up to the nothing as Ian.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
all of a sudden once I showed up, there was no Ian and the frequency of Ian was gone, the pattern, I was able to become nothing, and then you can become anything or in everything.
yeah. That's what I like what you're sharing is like such old wisdom. Like it's old knowledge. Like these are things that people have known and it's almost as if we've like forgotten these things and like that's the part that I just find so amazing when we look at older texts and then people come across and be like, "Oh my gosh, they're talking about, essentially this is a mindfulness practice. Like essentially this is, these other ways of even just what you described in terms of what your morning
So
is setting your morning."
a lot of, like, even with Joe Dispenza, for example, is
Yeah,
teaching ancient spiritual yogic breathing techniques around the chakras. He's calling them energy centers. He's
yeah,
giving them a different language, and then there's doc but, what I realize is, like, I'm a mystic, and the more that I can get into my heart and open up the frequency in me and go to a higher vibration, I
yeah,
can embrace this, and as your frequency gets higher, so vibration is frequency, frequency carries information, information are patterns. As
right.
you have a more coherent, higher vibration pattern, you can see more information in the field and recognize these patterns. So now when I show up for things, I'm not looking like, "Oh, the world is not the
Yeah,
world is like this opportunity everywhere." So it's like
yes,
my issue is like, what am I gonna focus on, right?
yes,
It's like what do I want to affect? And then once I affect that, what do I want to affect next? And
right.
what's gonna make the biggest impact and brings me the most joy, and how am I gonna feel when I do that? And I
Right.
think the beautiful thing of this is no one's gonna everyone can fix nothing's broken, first of all.
Yes,
You wanna reconnect to the pattern of wholeness and oneness,
yes.
which is available to everyone all the time. It's an unlimited source, right?
Mhm,
And for me, getting sober, there's a lot of things one is like drugs and alcohol provide a connection in the beginning a lot, right?
mhm.
And then it stops, right? And then it gets you on a downward spiral. But connection is the key. Like the 12-step program is one, believe,
Yeah,
right? And then the first couple steps. The second was behave, like you
mhm,
already are, right? And then become, which
yeah,
is how everything manifests. Like, what do I believe in? Do I believe I'm connected or do I believe I'm separate, right?
right.
And once you actually make the shift to believing in a power greater than yourself, whatever you wanna call it, you
Yes,
know, and your concept of that, God, the universe, the limitless field, like, there's
yeah,
names, oneness, right? Whatever that is, boom. Then now you behave and you believe, and then you become a
no,
totally different
yeah,
person.
yeah,
I love Joe Dispenza says, "Change your personality, change your personal reality," but you actually become a different person. You see people the blockages in your energetic body, which is the dense it's a higher frequency field than just this
yeah,
dense body, and then they you get open, right? And then everything changes, and then your
mm,
consciousness changes, and then also the frequency you're sending out to the reality changes, so different things appear in your field,
yeah.
right?
And my understanding is it's not like you get there and you're good. The fact is like this is it's a practice, right? That you're going to regress, you're going to have setbacks because we have a lot of conditioning that we are essentially trying to release, right? We're trying to surrender.
And there's all these different things. So, like, the oneness people in India are teaching one of the greatest things. I'll share a meditation with you that I do every day. I do it on
Yeah,
Zoom, and I have people all over the world coming in. And the thing is, though, their whole thing is there's 2 states of consciousness. There's a suffering state, anxiety, fear, lack,
yeah,
and there's a beautiful state. And this beautiful state, or the suffering state, you call stressful state. The beautiful state is I've got more than enough,
yes,
abundance, everything in all things and friends and people and mystical experiences and relationships. And your state determines everything.
yes.
So it's all about one, what state am I in? Right.
Mhm,
And then two, what are the practices I need to do to get to this beautiful state? Right.
mhm.
Because one, which state am I in? Then two, there's no third state, right? You're either you're stressful or you're
You're
in
good.
light.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah,
And so that's the thing, is just the same thing with we talked about it, like, earlier on. I'm connected to self, and I think I'm separate, or I'm connected to oneness, God, the universe, and everything. There's
right.
no third. I'm
Yeah. Door number 3. No door number 3.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these things are simple, they're ancient.
Yes.
We've become disconnected from them, right? There's also a whole other thing that happens. So, and I have many friends who are billionaires, own multiple sports teams. It's the most
Yeah.
successful people on the planet, YPO people, all these
Yeah.
people. But what happens, there a lot of them are still suffering and living in stressful states.
Despite the resources, like,
Yeah,
despite the fact that they
it's
could yeah.
and it's so you can't achieve your way. So what happens is when the senses are done outwards, okay, and we're also 3D reality, and you become an expert in manifesting 3D AI. You can manifest cars, sports
Yeah.
teams, homes, whatever, right? You can still do that. But what happens is you're still doing it from a place of lack, right? So
Right.
it's a different consciousness that no matter whatever it is you want to fill that cup with will not get you. So the idea is or the frequency is realizing you already have it. It was
Mhm.
already there. You're connected with it and how you feel. And then it becomes there's just it's a different level of enjoyment, right? Joy
Yes.
is a huge frequency, play is a huge frequency.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are super successful are very stressed out because now they feel like I have limitless time, right?
Yeah.
We got this worked out perfectly, right? Time bends
Yes.
because it just things happen. So I think that the most important thing for anyone, to understand is like you already have it. It's
Yes.
inside you. When the senses are so what I wanted to say about the senses is 5 senses we perceive through our eyes the Roy G. Biv, the color
Yes.
spectrum, it's less than 1% of all the frequencies happening at this one time, right?
Right.
And the senses are based on survival, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, and then survival becomes, okay, I need 1,000,000, I need a 10,000,000, I need 100,000,000, I need 10 houses,
Yes.
right? These are still your senses are out, right?
Mhm.
And in order the game becomes, boom, I'm gonna turn my senses inward. I'm
Mhm.
gonna get in alignment. I'm gonna understand how the frequency system in my body works. I'm going to learn how to create these fields. There's a positive field, there's a negative field, there's an electromagnetic field that takes on the body. And
Mhm.
then once my body and my field gets connected and I understand, like, boom, here I am, it's like you are this laptop and you have a Wi-Fi signal. Less than 1.1% is connected to the field of the Wi-Fi of the infinite
Yeah.
information abundant. That this Wi-Fi thing is based on the spiritual
Mhm.
of connection, right?
Yes.
There's this unlimited amount of information that's accessible instantaneously, right?
Yes.
But you got to turn the connection on. You got to turn
Yeah.
your Wi-Fi signal on. So,
Yeah. Amazing. Now, Ian, again, just to get clarification, it's like it's life work, right? Like it's not like you got that connection and the Wi-Fi, it's
oh yes,
stable. It's like
and it can go out, and then you
it
start blaming others, and you can
yeah,
even know a lot of this stuff, but the thing is it's a frequency, so we ask,
yes,
"What do you do?" You gotta do these things that put yourself in a high
yeah,
frequency state. So
yeah,
journaling,
yeah,
positivity, affirmations,
mhm,
red light, sauna, cold plunge, exercise,
yeah,
you know, and all these things are like they're like table stakes, right? So
mhm,
it's like you gotta turn the machine on.
right,
And here's the other thing about it where so in 3D reality, you cannot upgrade the frequency, you can't upgrade the character. You see the movie The Matrix when Neo wants to get the kung fu frequency, he's
yeah,
gotta get out of the thing and
yes,
download the deal. So
yes,
that's you have to leave if you wanna change your reality and you wanna change the way your life works, your abundance, your relationships, your job, whatever, you can't if you're gonna do it in the game, you're doing it mostly from a state of lack, right?
yes,
You're also doing it in a space-time deal,
yeah,
which I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta make a list, I gotta call
yeah,
or if you see yourself in the new reality and what is and charge it with emotion, because that's why
yes,
the visualization thing works if you charge it with emotion and see that you already have it, right?
100%.
You
Yeah,
have to have it and you have to charge it with emotion, and if you do it from a state of already being that, then it'll happen, and that's why people I call our event "Of Course," because of course it happened, of course it shows up.
yeah,
People use the word unbelievable when
yeah,
things happen better than that's unbelievable. Like, why is
mhm,
that unbelievable, right? Of
mhm,
course it happened that way. Like,
yeah,
that's how it's supposed to happen.
yeah.
And that though these are the signs, like even coincidence, the word coincidence, coincide comes from the Latin term when 2 angles come in perfect alignment.
Perfect alignment.
People, you're like, "Oh, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in coincidence." Coincidence is perfect alignment.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean by accident, it means like
yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. Now, as somebody who literally studies the science of hope, I feel like this is just this amazing kind of season where we know that to help people get to what you're describing, Ian, there's going to be some folks who, might not get the opportunity to jump off and meet with some of the biggest world leaders in this area or be able to have some of the experiences that you've been able to cultivate yet, right? That isn't available to them in terms of what their reality is right now. And one of the things with my work on hope and the science of hope is helping folks get to that place where we have to get your hopes up that it's possible. We have to like detach from these outcomes, which is to me, it's often this idea about like optimism is we're hoping for a particular outcome. And hope is literally a state where we know physiologically, we know psychologically, we know spiritually that these things are possible, and it makes the biggest difference. It's literally the game changer and why we can't explain some things even in medical research or in just happenstance. It doesn't make any sense other than this group of persons were willing to get their hopes up. They were willing to actually elevate themselves into a place of seeing the world in a different way.
so it's I mean, you basically got the answer in what you just said there, but I'm just gonna repeat it back to you in a way that maybe it comes from a
Please.
different
Yeah.
way. So hope's a frequency,
Yes.
right? Hope's a frequency. And you can have, let's say you have a disease, right? And you can hope you get better, right? You can hope you have no pain, but
Yeah.
hope's a frequency. So if you actually become the and hope has a pattern,
Mhm.
hope has a sound, hope has a frequency, right? And if you get in the frequency of hope, you're not in this frequency of you can
Yeah.
only be in one frequency at one time, right? This is the
Got it.
thing. You can't be in two. So if you become the frequency of hope, there's no Dr. Robin, you show up in the field as hope.
Yes.
And then how does that make you feel? So you charge it, right?
Mhm.
You hope you're gonna find a way. Like, it's never gonna come the way you think it's gonna come, right?
Mhm.
That's the thing, right? I hope you so you hope gives you the feeling that you're gonna, you know, "I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna feel." What does hope bring? Joy, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna feel? What is the hope? The hope is a gateway to the joy or the gratitude you're gonna feel when you get it. The hope is possibility.
Yes.
So when I love not knowing, right?
Yeah.
Like most people, if you're living in what you already know, you have a limited reality. Like the whole thing of the mystical experience is get to the place where you don't know and you have an intention, and God, the field figures it out for you in a way that's even better. So
Yeah.
hope is the frequency that reality is possible. Like we talked earlier,
Yeah.
belief, right?
Yeah.
Hope is the frequency of belief.
Yeah.
Right, and when you have the frequency of belief, miracles happen in the field because you have to believe it for it to become. So if you don't have hope, the experiment doesn't work. Look, if you don't
Yes.
believe it, it's not gonna work. It
Yeah.
just it in 5D, it works that way. Gravity works in 3D.
Mhm.
Newtonian physics governs 3D.
Mhm.
Hope is a frequency above the light frequency, so
Yes.
it has different principles that operate it, and one of the principles is your belief.
Yes.
Your belief, and you don't need me, you don't need to meet any spiritual teacher, you don't need to meet you, you don't need to meet anyone in the world to have hope,
Yes.
right? Hope is and okay, here's you are the generator of all your own frequencies, right?
Mhm.
So it's Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, the oneness guy, they're not gonna give you the free
Yeah.
you have the frequency in you already,
Mhm.
right? That's the key with everyone, right? It doesn't cost any money, you don't need to go buy it. You
Yes.
have to basically get getting back access to it.
Yeah.
But the people who are hopeless, their energy's low too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, for me, like, I was hopeless. I was suicidal. I had, a kid with cancer twice. We Spiritual Gangster had this really challenging outcome with partners, and
Yeah.
I was, like, ready to kill myself, and then I was fleeing on drugs and alcohol at the Sphere. My favorite band was The Grateful Dead. I saw 30 shows, right? And it just kept escalating, but
Yeah.
I was running and I was hopeless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And then when so you have to figure out for me, I had to go to India and I had to go ways because what happens is, and this is the thing too, I'm the source of everything. My own obsessive self-centric thinking was creating all my suffering.
Yeah.
And the self is the disconnection from everything. So I had
Yes.
to realize one, it wasn't that guy or that guy or
Mm.
it was me.
Yes.
And it was my own thinking about whatever that was. And it was me keep thinking about that the same way with that charged emotion. I mean, still, it's
Yeah.
still burp it out, right?
Yeah.
But this is, you know, enlightenment can happen instantaneously, but then it takes work and practice to sustain a higher frequency of living, right? This
Mhm.
is like you can have these enlightenment experiences. You can have them on drugs. You can have them different ways. You can have,
Mhm.
but the idea is like, okay, here's a possibility that's shown,
Mhm.
right? How do you live in your life of without suffering,
Yes.
not going back down, right?
Yeah.
Where miracles happen all the time, where
Mm.
serendipities are par for the course,
Yes.
right? Of course, like I got here, of course I had the parking spot I got. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
right in front of the
Yeah.
building. This is the
Yeah.
busiest mall on the thing. And
Yeah.
it was gonna be another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, the expectation too, it's good to have the expectation because
Mhm.
expectation is almost a belief of certainty, right?
Yes.
It's how it works. If
Yeah.
you've already experienced the emotion and you already have it, why wouldn't you expect to get it and be certain about it?
Mhm. That's so well said. I appreciate that. I just take so much comfort in knowing that like this is how you get to show up and this is something that you have experienced loss. You have experienced those seasons in that place of stress and like real world issues like a child being unwell. Like this isn't somebody who's like been kind of surfing this wave and it's been smooth the whole go. Like you face this, Ian, and you are able to still hold that place of just deep compassion and so generous. Sorry, the puppies are saying hi. So generous with how you see the world. And again, to me, it's just this vibe. I remember when I first met you in person, it's like you're just like you're a conduit, right? Like you literally feel like this conduit to give people again this opportunity to connect with the deeper way of knowing and then ultimately becoming. So I just think you're amazing. I love your words. I love your ideas. I feel so inspired every time I hear what you talk about. And again, as somebody who looks at this from a behavioral perspective, it's like it gives me so much confidence that we're doing this in the right way for the right reasons. Just again to be of service and to show up. So Ian, like,
Oh,
my
it's
goodness.
amazing. It's amazing the work you're doing. And I think what you
Thank
realize
you.
is like there's so much possibility, right? And there's
Yeah.
so much more is possible,
Yeah.
right? And if you get enough people and the right people, it's like, the part of this is and why I'm doing more podcasts. It's
Yeah.
like find your tribe, you get connected with
Yeah.
your people. And then as you connect with the people, the field gets stronger and
Yes.
intelligence builds and things get connected and in your own head and my head and the neural pathways and the people who are listening and the pulse of the field gets stronger and more intelligent.
Yes.
And like what you're doing is great. I mean, look, you're getting the message out there and
Thank
people
you.
need to hear it and they're ready to hear it. And, hopefully people enjoy this.
Yeah. Well, I am appreciative on so many fronts. And my kind of parting question for you is I'm wondering what your hope is for things right now. What are you hoping for? What are you wishing for right now? And how can we show up to support you?
So, my hope is for people to just experience more joy. I think
Okay.
joy is an emotion, a frequency that it's maybe one of the most elevated, and I think having I hope people play more and, like, really value the currency of play because it
Yes.
fosters creativity and it also creates more hope, right? If you hope's contagious, right? All these
Mhm.
things are contagious, so I hope, you hang out with people who have more hope, and, right, the way you get hope is give hope, right? So
Yes.
you wanna give it, so help people have hope, right? And
Yeah.
be encouraging and, uh, look, I think for in order for all of this to work, and it's great that you're doing the sciences, hope is like my mom used to say, it's interesting, it was her birthday yesterday, and she's been gone now 8 years, but, um, it's like rule number 1, you need to, like, get on your own team, right?
Yeah.
So it's like how like, what do you And then another thing she used to say, I think it has a lot to do with hope, but it also has a lot to do with connection. Because when you feel connection, you feel hope. You learn
Yes.
in AA, the opposite of connection's addiction.
Mhm.
So it's all about connection. And my mom used to say, Ian, there's a reason why illness starts with I and
Mhm.
wellness starts with we. So I hope that people feel like part of the we, that they feel connected to everything. There is no separation. Separation is the illusion.
Yeah.
And so I hope that people feel connection, and then when they do it, they're gonna feel more hope, because in the field of connection, all the it's just everything's hopeful because
Yeah.
and then you expect it, right?
Mhm. It's beautiful. Well, thank you, my friend. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so appreciative for the gift of your time, your insights, your knowing, and just the generousness of your spirit of sharing. Like, you were literally one of the most interesting dudes I have ever met in my entire life, and I just feel so fortunate that you made time for this today. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ian.
Super fun. Thanks, and, hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks.
I would look forward to that. Take good care. Thank you. Thank you for spending time with me on this episode of Life by Design. I appreciate if you have a moment to pay this forward, share it with someone who you think might benefit from the ideas shared in this episode. If you're feeling so inspired, please also rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.